How do you feel about them at the moment? We've spoken that we think Ten Hag needs to go if they really want to get.
I just think they're at a point now where it's like, well, what are you doing then?
But like, it didn't work under Ole. It didn't work under whoever that other guy was.
Van Gaal before that.
Van Gaal.
Moyes, Van Gaal, Ole,
Then
Rangnick.
Rangnick, that's the one. But like, at what point is it not the manager?
Welcome to the Know the Score podcast with me, Luke Kempner, and Harry Daniels. It's a funny one this week because there's been no Premier League, and we are very much a podcast to talk about the Premier League. I'm ill and heavily rehearsing the musical that swept the world, Les Miserables, that opens with a new cast tonight. So I've been insanely busy.
Are you paying us for that ad?
No, they don't, mate. They've been going 40 years. They don't need our promotion.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you, I haven't done any prep. Harry has, though. You've done a lot of prep.
If anyone wants to know who props this podcast up every week,
I do prep every week. But if you want to, if you really want to know,
in the spreadsheet that I put together with your name next to the bits you have to fill in.
It's what I've written one note.
Yeah. What a fantastic note it is.
Yeah.
As well.
When we get to that note. So listen, we're going to be talking about a sort of review of the season so far, but you've organised it in a beautiful, interesting way that it's not just like, so, Arsenal, what do you think?
Well, exactly.
What's your thought process?
We were going to do season review so far and talk about a lot of the teams.
Boring.
And be like, well,
boring.
Arsenal, this is how we thought they've done. Oh, then we'll do Aston Villa, then we'll do Bournemouth, and then I don't know who's next alphabetically. But I thought we'd do it in a slightly better things like Brentford. There we go. In talking about specific things, like we're going to do the title race, how we think that's going. We're going to do race for top four. We'll have a look at relegation. Yeah. We'll talk about a few things that have happened in the season, like VAR. We'll have a talk about these new rules they're giving for clubs to do at half time.
I gave you that idea.
You did. Thank you very much.
See, I am doing prep.
And then a couple of other teams in like Crystal Palace, Man United. And then we'll talk about a few season awards so far. 7 games in. What a better time to do season awards. And I wondered, you didn't prep this, of doing a team of the season so far. But we'll see if we have time for that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think, look, I've found myself, as I'm sure many of you listeners and viewers have found, that you're trying to find some football content that isn't boring England stuff. Because I don't know about you, but I find all that quite boring.
I don't do anything.
You've slammed international football completely before we even started this.
Yeah. Well, I spoke last week about the fact that I want them to scrap international breaks and put it all
I know,
in one month.
The thing is that back in the day, we used to care about international football.
I care about international football. I don't care about
What are you,
friendlies.
a Gen X, Gen Z? What are you?
I think I'm Gen Z. And
You're a Gen Z. Gen Z. Like us millennials. Do you remember where? You don't remember this. England beat Germany 5-1 away. Sven-Goran Eriksson was the manager, got rest his soul. It was amazing.
But it's a
Heskey scored a goal.
Yeah.
No, it was a qualifier.
Oh, with the qualifiers, I care enough to check the score. Friendlies, I will know the score because I see it on Twitter.
I couldn't tell you if the Finland game last night. That's Nations League, wasn't it? That wasn't a friendly.
Enough of a friendly.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like,
if it's not leading up to a World Cup or a Euros,
no, I know.
It's not needed.
But anyway, I found myself going through my podcast going, is there no one just talking about general football that isn't the Man City legal case, which I still haven't got my head around. So we are going to do that for you today with our wonderful footballing knowledge and my wonderful prep. So where do you want to start?
Let's start
Monsieur
at the top.
Daniels.
Let's start at the top. Let's start the title race. So it is looking...
Arsenal going to win it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think that. I genuinely don't think that.
Do you think there's anyone else in the that will win the title that isn't Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City? Do we need anyone else?
I was just checking your notes that you hadn't put Chelsea in there.
I haven't put Chelsea.
I said a quick glance. Oh no, he hasn't. No, I don't. No, there isn't.
No,
but that's only because, Chelsea, as well as Chelsea have started, I don't think they're suddenly going to win the league.
No.
You need Man City to have a massive fall-off for anyone to have a chance.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions about Chelsea for this pod. So when we get to top four, we'll talk about them. But it does feel like it is Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, who have started well. So let's talk about them first, because they've been really good.
They have.
Lost one game.
Yep.
Only to Nottingham Forest, which they will be looking at like they probably wish they'd won, and they'd be in a great position if they had done.
Yes, but I also think that there's been a lot of reports saying Liverpool have been amazing every game apart from that Nottingham Forest game. But actually, like there's been a couple of other games where they've been slightly off it and have got away with a win. I think the big thing that we've talked about before is that Arne Slot came over and took over from Jurgen Klopp of a team that was doing well.
It's true, but do you not think there's a possibility that someone else could have taken over and it would have been too big for him to take over from someone like Jurgen Klopp?
But I think also Arne Slot plays similar football. And I think he's done really well. We're going to get to like most improved player of the season awards. So, but my shout, spoiler, Gravenbach is in there because, that's been a big change. But we talked about it last week in that the bigger tests are coming for Liverpool.
Yeah.
It
Chelsea
reminds
this week. They've got you
then
in 2
Arsenal,
weeks.
Leipzig away during all of that. And I think I remember 2 years ago when Arsenal were like we'd done a similar thing. We'd lost one game to Man United and we'd won 9 out of the first. This is 2 seasons ago, and I just kept as a fan just going, how the hell? We're not going to be able to keep this up, and we did. We kept it going for quite a while. So we shall see with Liverpool. I still don't think they've got enough to win the title, but I'm pessimist with Arsenal. So
so Arsenal next. I mean, you are on exactly the same as you were this time last year, 17 points. You've got to be pretty happy with it given the fixture. A lot of people were looking at Arsenal thinking it's a difficult start to the season. Yes, you've just played Leicester and Southampton, and you've got a few more difficult ones coming up. But it's been a difficult opening run of games. Particularly, you had Spurs in there, you had Villa in there as well. And
Man City away. Yeah. I think without Odegaard as well is huge, and Ben White. Like Ben White, Odegaard, and Saka are like that is like where all of our attacks usually come from.
Saka looks like he's all right.
Yeah,
limped off.
Why do you say? I can't have this slander on the greatest footballer that has ever graced the Premier League.
Second.
What, to Henry?
Obama.
So hopefully Saka will be all right. Bournemouth away next, which will be a tough game. I think, look, Arsenal are in a perfect position, but you still need Man City to get less than 90 points. I don't think Arsenal are going to get... I think if we get 88 points, I think that's an amazing season. But I don't think it'll be enough to win the league. But
why don't you think you can do it? Like, who do you think?
Because we haven't done it for 21 years.
Who do you think is good enough to beat you?
Man City.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they do it every year. Yeah, and I think they're going to... I think with all the legal stuff...
Even if you lost to Man City, you'd still get more than 88 points.
What do you mean?
If you won every game.
Yeah, we're not going to win every game.
Yeah, but I'm wondering...
Oh, who's going to beat... but that's a ridiculous thing to say. We're going to win every game.
No, it's true.
Look, we drew to Brighton. And then ever since then, other than the second half against Tottenham, Brighton have looked rubbish.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I think if Odegaard can come back fit soon...
It's mid-November now.
They're saying mid-November. That's okay. That's like in 4 weeks' time.
Yeah, next international break, they said.
Next international break, okay. Listen, if we beat Liverpool at home, I might start believing. It always takes me a little while in the season to start believing, but I don't know. I just think Man City is so inevitable, and I worry with these legal charges. Their sort of idea is we're going to keep fighting it with loopholes. Not to go into all this case, but I wouldn't be surprised in January. They made big money in the summer. Wouldn't be surprised in January that they go and have a big splash of 150, 200 million. Not that necessarily works.
Yeah, it might not work.
It might not work, but it might work. And I think if Arsenal can be 10 points, 5 to 10 points clear of Man City at Christmas, then I think we are strong favourites. But if we're not, I think it could be us getting close and not winning it again. What do you think?
So I still look at Man City without Rodri over the past couple of weeks and just generally think they've been a bit of a mess. I just don't think they've been nearly as good as this big Man City who are going to win every game and go on this massive scoring run and winning run. And I'm sure at some point they probably will. But I just don't think over the past 3 weeks or so. I mean, I know what's interesting and the sort of rebuttal to that is they played the first 3 weeks without Rodri and they were really good. But then the past couple of weeks, they just haven't been. And that maybe that's no De Bruyne, or maybe it's a combination of De Bruyne and Rodri. But we've seen a Man City over the past 3 weeks that is not good enough to be unbeatable, I would say. And, they drew to Newcastle. They absolutely could have dropped points at Fulham. Every single week, since then, we're looking at games where they're not certain to go and win games. And I just think they can't reinforce until we get to January. And there will be more games like that between now and then. So I think it's more...
I'm getting a tingle of excitement in my tummy.
I don't know. I look at it and I think it's more yours to...
Really?
I won't say yours to lose, because I feel like you are more in a position where if you win your difficult games, I think you're less likely to slip up in games you shouldn't slip up in. I know you drop points against Brighton, but that was because you had a red card that potentially shouldn't have been a red card. But I look at these games where Man City go away to someone, and I just think that's where I see more potential for drop points than it being you. So right now, I mean, the bookies have you as favourites. They have Liverpool third. Sorry?
Opta don't. So the Opta predictor
has City still
City's
top.
like 70% favourites.
Bookies have you as favourites though. And
They
then
do.
City, and then Liverpool.
And if I was a betting man,
and then Chelsea.
I would be betting on Man City. I think it's the best odds you'll get on Man City at the moment. I don't know. I mean, it's different. I don't know about you as a fan. Like, I don't know. Chelsea fans are quite arrogant, aren't they? But I think Arsenal fans, like, we're so used to disappointment. And, like, you know, you hear other clubs talk about Arsenal. You never won a Champions League. You won a league in 21 years. And it's true. So, like, it'd be weird for me to be sitting going, yeah, it's ours. It's ours. That's why I sort of find it weird when
it
fans
would be weird 7 weeks into the season for you to go, it's ours.
Yeah, but even to be like, I'm confident, I think would be weird.
Yeah, it would.
So I'm hopeful.
But then,
I think Man City not having Rodri is very helpful. I think it's been interesting seeing Haaland since he went stay humble, yeah. Like he's had 0.01 XG since then or something like that. Last night again, didn't get a goal and lost 5-1 to Austria. I'm half Austrian. Go on, the boys. So
do you care what Haaland does in his
I just saw it on a tweet, and the trouble is I'm a sucker for Twitter.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful. You're saying there's a chance.
Well, this is the thing. It's one of those that if you look at it from an Arsenal fan or a City fan, I get it. But if you look at it from an objective, looking at what the two teams are able to do and maybe forgetting what's happened in the past couple of seasons, I honestly would put you as my prediction to win it. But I do think I would probably say...
Percentage.
I'm making up the percentages in my head, trying to make sure they add up to 100. Okay. I would say 40% you.
Yeah.
30%... No, then that leaves 30. 45% you, 35% City, and 20% Liverpool.
Is that right?
35, 45, 70. 80, 100, yes. 45, 35, 20.
Okay. Are you giving Liverpool 20% chance?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say...
I think by the time next international break comes and you've played Liverpool and Liverpool have also played us, those percentages could look very different depending on how those two games go.
I'm going for, and please comment on the YouTube your percentages for this, but I would say 45% Arsenal, 40% Man City,
15 Liverpool. Okay. But you still have you first.
Maybe.
I can't believe after all you've said, you've got you first. I mean, I think it'll be close.
You've convinced me.
I've convinced you. What a compelling argument I put forward. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it will come down to things like injuries. Like, for example, like if Haaland was to get a knock, they just don't have the backup or the depth to deal with it. But if Saka was to actually have a knock, I would say you've got more depth than City do around your key players now. So it'll be, and if they lose like an Akanji or something, they don't fill in very well for him, or Gavardio.
But if we lost Saliba or Gabriel, like I know we've got Calafiori, but like those Saliba and Gabriel, like if they win the league, they'll be up there with Vidic, Ferdinand, and Campbell and Toure. They will be up there.
Yeah,
but if they don't win anything, they're not.
What would it take Liverpool to get higher in your odds then? Because it does feel like
Arsenal. If they come and beat Arsenal away. Then I will completely change my mind. I go, I mean, they're absolutely in it. But until we see them win those games and see Arne Slot handle that stuff, then I don't know how I can give them more than 10%.
Okay. So you gave them 15.
Oh, I'll give them more than 50.
Yeah, fine. But I suppose the other one is, right, so if they beat us and lose, but they probably need to go and at least draw with...
I think the thing is with Chelsea is like, Chelsea could beat Man City and lose to Man City 5-0. So I think that's the same with any team with Chelsea. So that's why I don't see that as a barometer, where I think like if they come and beat Arsenal, who are solid, and especially in the, Arteta's so good in the big games now.
Yeah,
then that'd be incredible.
But the results against us, I'm not saying it's putting us in the title race, but we can have an impact on others in the title
100%.
race, because as you say, we could go and lose 4-0. We could always go and, win 4-3.
Yeah,
it's probably not going to be 4-0 the way we defend at the moment.
Do you think Chelsea are set up to play the big teams, or do you think Chelsea are going to be better against the teams they should be?
I think we're going to be better against the teams we should be. I think it's difficult. The only real top team we've played is City on the opening day, and it wasn't a good time for us to play them, and we just weren't ready, and we didn't look ready for it at all. So
you're a different team.
I think the annoying thing is after the international break, we play Liverpool, and we've got no Fofana and we've got no Cucurella, which is just like, again, maybe it's an early excuse that if we don't win, it's like, well, we didn't have two of our first choice defenders. It would be nice to have at some point a test of this team as a first choice. Now, Vega, who I was very negative on early on in the season when we played Bournemouth, has been really good, and he's likely to fill in at left back for Cucurella, and then we'll probably put Tosin at centre back as well. And I don't think it's actually that much of a downgrade. So
I don't even know who these players are.
Tosin used to play for Fulham. Vega is a young Portuguese, to be honest, I was going to say midfielder, but he played centre-back for Portugal the other night. He's played left-back for us, and he's played in midfield for us as well. So he does a lot of jobs. But before we get to Chelsea and the top four race, which is heating up already. So we think Arsenal just about, City and Liverpool, but it does feel like it may well be decided by one injury or something to one of these teams for a while.
But maybe that's already happened.
Maybe it's the Rodri one. Yeah.
A nice seamless move into the top four race. I just before we leave Arsenal, one FPL point. I think Trossard is a really good bet right now.
While Odegaard's out?
While Odegaard's out. I don't see anyone else playing in there.
No.
And as long as he's playing the first team, which, because obviously he rested Trossard against Southampton. But I think with the fixtures, and Trossard did really well for Belgium as well. So just on FPL shout.
Okay.
I do think Trossard is worth it over Martinelli, actually.
Okay, interesting. You said the other week.
I know.
Yeah, interesting. With Odegaard out, his role is great. But then once Odegaard comes back.
Yeah, but that 3 weeks at 7 million.
Yeah, it's true. But
in the Arsenal midfield.
You play Liverpool and Chelsea in that run?
Bournemouth away, Liverpool, and I'm not sure who's third after that.
It's Newcastle, then Chelsea.
Yeah.
So Newcastle away, Chelsea away. It's not the worst, but yeah. Top four race.
Yes.
I've got 3 teams here in Chelsea, Spurs, and Aston Villa.
I haven't got any notes.
Yeah, that's fine. Is there anyone else that you think, like, do you put a Brighton, do you put a Newcastle in there? That's probably the only other names that we could potentially throw in there. I'm not, like, you go down the table at the moment and it's Fulham, and all respect to Fulham, all respect to Forest, Brentford have started really well. Yeah. The only other one, I suppose we should talk about when we get to them maybe. So first of all do you think Newcastle and Brighton have the ability to finish top 4 this season?
No.
I think I'd probably agree. I think they'll do well, but I think there is one of those 3 that we've spoken about in Chelsea, Aston Villa, Spurs one of them will finish above those teams.
I think with Newcastle, it's like if they're not going to have Isak and they're not going to have Wilson, then like any team would struggle.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't think they're good enough, and I really like Eddie Howe, but there's all sorts of things with Eddie Howe and the England job. If that possibly happens, that could change things. These legal battles that Man City have. The arguments that they've won does that suddenly mean Newcastle are going to spend big in January? That could make a difference, but I still don't see them as a contender.
They're not playing well
for the top 4,
moment,
especially above the teams that you've already mentioned.
The only other one is Manchester United, and we can't dare have this conversation and just not even mention them. I know based on current form, the fact that last season was their worst start to a Premier League season, and they've gone and beaten it with 1 less point than they were on at this point last year. Last year they were sat in 10th with 9 points, and they're now in 14th with 8 points. It was nice last year. It was all Chelsea United. We were 1 point below them at this point last year. So
wow.
How the turns have tabled.
Yes, yes.
So do you think they're presumably in a European conversation, but top 4 you think is
Man United?
Too far? Yeah.
At the moment, they seem doomed to not even be in a European conversation. Not sacking Ten Hag and not seeing. This is the one note I did put down, which is stop banging on about the cups, and that's Ten Hag. Where the difference I see with Ten Hag and Arteta, when Arsenal were rubbish, when Arteta came in, because of the team we had. you look at that back forward like Socrates and David Luiz and Mustafi and and Petr Cech, who couldn't pass, wonderful keeper, but he wasn't passing out from the back, which was what we needed to do. So all of that stuff. Maybe it was Leno by that point. Actually, it probably was Leno. But you always felt like there was some sort of system that he was trying to implement. He just needed the right players. Well, I don't see that with Ten Hag, so I don't see how it's going to get any better.
No, I think I probably agree, and it does feel like the cup that they won at the end of last year was a fantastic result and something that has massively boosted the look out of Ten Hag and his era at Manchester United. But it also feels a little bit like it's doomed them to some extent because it kept him in a job. If he hadn't have won that,
he doesn't talk about it in the way that he uses it as a, look, we've been successful. We won the cup. We won the cup. People assume that we won the cup.
Yeah.
And it's like,
he wouldn't.
Yeah, but you could win, and obviously I'm referring it back to Arsenal, but there was games when Arsenal won. Well, I remember we beating Liverpool 2-1, about 2 or 3 seasons ago, and Arteta didn't just come out and go, and it was like, we have still so much we need to do. And it doesn't feel like they were Ten Hag. He feels just like, but if we're just unlucky.
If they hadn't have won the cup, he wouldn't be in a job, though. I honestly believe that they kept him. And there were loads of reports going into that cup final that he'd already been told that he was already going to be sacked. So it does feel like that kept him in a job, which is great. They won the FA Cup, but it also feels like it has doomed their season a little bit.
But that's the thing, with the start that they've had, as well as all that stuff you've just said, and then the start that they've had, how can anyone possibly think that they're suddenly anything's gonna change?
I mean, they're already 6 points off the top 4.
There's no way they're getting in the Champions League. Yeah. At least with Tottenham, as much as they lost that game to Brighton, and it's the history of the Tottenham, but they look amazing when they're together and going forward. That first half against Brighton, they would challenge anyone in the league playing like that. Well, I don't see that with United.
Yeah, no, I agree. So on Spurs, I suppose the result against Brighton is the most recent one, and it's the one that's going to stick in our minds that they've got this in them, they've done it before, it will happen again. That does put me off in wanting to put them in a top 4 debate, that there will be enough results like this. But then they've been so good before that.
It doesn't put me off wanting to put them in top 4. It puts me off them winning a trophy.
Yeah. Because they'll be too inconsistent. There'll be too many big games or too many games that they have to win that they won't.
And it just seems to always happen with them.
Yeah.
Even as I watched, thinking Tottenham look really good this year, and Angie always wins in his set. Always winning my second season, mate. It's a fact. What am I supposed to say? That I don't win things in my second season? Because that'd be a lie. But then they go and do that against Brighton. So I feel like that is in them until that they stop doing that, and then they won't, because there's inevitability about it. When they went 1-0 down, there was an inevitability that they would. Sorry, when it went 2-1. There was inevitability that it would go to 3-2. Yeah. Until they get that out of their DNA, that won't change. But I still think they've got plenty to make it into the top 4. I
agree. Looking at that result, I do think it's worth noting that there was no Son, right? And Timo Werner is playing in Son's place. And that it might be one of the biggest downgrades from a footballer to a replacement there is in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. So that I actually think if Son had played that game, they may well have won it because there were chances that Werner missed and assists that he could have got that he didn't. That if it was Son, they probably would have been more than 2 goals up at half time and things would have looked very different.
They also need to stop cacking themselves in defence.
Well, yeah.
You're 2-0 up again. And yes, Brighton changed things, but that's... You can't... so many Tottenham fans, when they were getting over Conte and getting over Mourinho and getting over Nuno, they were like, we want to play the Tottenham way. It's got to be the Tottenham way, right? Now you've got a manager that loves attacking.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some sort of balance.
Yeah, it's true. And, they're playing in midfield now with Maddison and Kulusevski, which is great, right? And it is so difficult to defend against. And both of them being so good this year, along with Brennan Johnson, right? Brennan Johnson scored again over the international break. That is 7 games in a row he scored and looks great. Yeah. Maddison also scored. Kulusevski looking great. And he can run for anything, right? For a man who plays his position, I've never seen someone run so much. But they mean they just play Bentancur in a 1-man midfield behind them, which
he's not playing a defensive midfielder.
No, it does mean they leave just gaps.
Yeah,
that means they will concede goals,
which is fun to watch.
It is
as a neutral, and that's why I still think they'll beat enough teams to really, really push for that top 4 place. But you are going to get results like they got against Brighton if you're not willing to change things. That's how you win trophies.
Yeah. Review of Dominic Solanke. I think we were pretty excited about him going into the start of the season and how well he would do. I think he's done well. I don't think he's hit the ground running quite as much.
7 out of 10?
Yeah. Like the game against Brighton, maybe it was a tactical thing, but Andrew was having him drop really deep with Werner and Brennan Johnson running behind, which I'm just like, I didn't think it suits him.
No.
And maybe that's because I own him in my fantasy team and I want him to be playing up front and scoring goals. But it just seems really strange. That's not the role. Maybe it's because there's no Son, and Son would usually be the player that would do that. So then you can have Solanke staying up front. But I just think it didn't suit him. And I don't want that to be the case for Solanke going forward, because it won't bring out the best in him. Maybe he wants to try and mould him, and maybe he sees it in training that he is capable of doing that. But I don't think the best Spurs for this season will have Solanke playing that role.
I still think is a very, very, very good signing, as well as we're seeing now. When Maddison can stay fit, he's a very good signing. When Johnson is in the form that he is, that's a very good signing. Yep. So I think they've bought really well, which Tottenham fans sort of seem to hate to hear, but they have bought well going forward.
Yeah.
And Romero and Van de Ven, you know, there's been talks about Real Madrid being interested in Romero. So I'm sure with a bit more defensively organised.
Yeah. So do you think it's a organisation managerial issue?
I think his vibe is just who we are, mate.
Yeah. Well, no, the thing is, and I say that, and I don't want it to be the case, because I don't want to make out like I'm having a go at Ange, but I do think the players are good enough to be winning very, very consistently. Like that defence, Udogie, Porro, Van de Ven, Romero. Vicario is absolutely very solid. Their attack is very, very good as well. It just seems to fall short in some games, and I don't quite know why that is. Maybe it's just the system with virtually no defensive midfield does leave them. Like there's no Sarr at the moment, there's no Basuma. It does leave them a little bit open, and maybe that's the sacrifice they're making.
Yeah.
The other one is, I feel like one team that's not being mentioned when people talk about top four, but absolutely are in it, is Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Started the season a little bit slowly in terms of results, and well, they played you in week 2, so of course it was going to be a little bit slower. They've started to really kick on and look very good. They've won in the Champions League.
Saying that though, I think that, you know, that after the Bayern Munich game, they were pretty bad against a Man United team that were there for the taking.
Yeah. So that was, I think the thing is, like on paper, if they play once a week, I would put them as favourites for top four. But do we think that the Champions League is going to be too much for them?
Yeah.
Because they don't massively have the depth that they used to. Like they've got Duran, who is basically all of their attacking depth, which is fantastic because he keeps scoring. Morgan Rogers, they've broken out and is the next best thing after Cole Palmer was last year. Watkins up front. Their attack is good, but must be their depth, right?
Yes, and just getting used to playing in the Champions League along with the Premier League at that level.
Yeah, like
you know, because we're talking about Tottenham, where like they can probably, you know, top 4. You know, I think, I don't know, maybe Villa for top 4. I think the thing is with Villa last year is that they were, you know, not far off pushing for the title last year.
No, there was a moment where they slowly slipped off. But firstly, for the first 6 months of the season, they were in the conversation.
So, you know, maybe just, you know, they're definitely in the conversation. Like, it's not like we're talking about Newcastle and Brighton. Like, Villa are absolutely in the conversation for the top 4. But then I think that's why we move on to Chelsea. I think with only having the Conference League, that's why I think Chelsea are the favourites for the top 4 right now. I would never have said that at the beginning of the season, but the way that you've started.
We literally make 11 changes in the Conference League every single week.
And Palmer doesn't play.
Palmer doesn't play, but none of the front 4 play. No. Like, Jackson doesn't play, Madueke doesn't play, Sancho doesn't play, none of our none of them play.
And then then players like Nkunku get a chance to get into form.
And it means that they are like match fresh when it comes to them coming on for 30 minutes at the weekend. He's ready. He's been in front of goal. He's been in the situations. They've been playing games. And the thing I like about it is we often make like loads of subs at once. So like Neto will come on, Mudryk will come on, who's been definitely improved. I'm not saying he's worth the money we spent for him, but he's been better. João Felix and Nkunku often all come on at the same time. And they're used to playing together. They play 90 minutes or 80 minutes together every single week. So it's almost like take one lot off who are used to playing together, put the other lot off, and it's just like they're used to it.
And you can experiment in the Conference League because the level of opposition is low enough for you to experiment with players who can gain some match fitness.
And it's good for players like Mudryk because it gives him an opportunity to try and get to where he needs to be without the pressure of it being a Premier League game where everyone's watching him, and as soon as he does one thing wrong, he gets shouted at, and you know. So, I mean, I think that competition is an absolute godsend to this Chelsea team.
Yeah.
And then, like as I said, going into this weekend, we'll have no Cucurella and we'll have no Fofana, but Vega and Tosin are playing 90 minutes every week.
Yeah.
So again, they are match ready. They are match fit. Maybe not match ready to play against Liverpool, but it's better than a player who's not played a minute so far this season coming in and trying to fill one of those voids.
And have certainly been a surprise, you know, when you compare what they were doing last year.
Yeah, we were 11th with 8 points and we are now 4th with 14 points.
Yeah, you know, so...
we've scored the most goals in the league as well this season.
So that's a big surprise, you know, and obviously we might be looking again in 7 games' time and things might have levelled out a bit.
Well, again, because between now and the next international break, we have Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, Man United.
Yeah.
So let's see how it goes between now and then. Because if we get more than anything more than 6 points, I'd be happy from those.
Okay.
Because that would be losing to Liverpool, losing to Arsenal, but beating the other two would be fine. More than 6 would be a good turnover, I'd say.
Okay. We're 30 minutes in, Harry.
Yeah.
All right. I'm looking at. We've got lots of lovely things to talk about.
Yeah.
But maybe we should skip VAR.
Yeah, we can do it very briefly. I just want to talk I want to ask you a couple of questions on it. So I think we've spoken to death.
I've got no notes.
That's fine. On the top four, so we are saying I would probably put Chelsea, then Villa, then Spurs. I think I'd put Villa above Spurs. Because, but then I wonder if
because of Emery, I think because of Emery, I would put Villa.
Villa fans must be so happy.
Yeah,
like he's done such an incredible job. Like that Villa, we talk about like sliding door, whatever the expression is, closing.
Yeah, sliding door.
Sliding
you
door.
You said closing door a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, sliding door.
Where Aston Villa should have got relegated because the ball went over the line and the goal line technology didn't work. And now they're in
Sheffield United.
Yeah, and now they're in the Champions League. And if that goal line technology had worked, they would have gone to the Championship. But they must be thrilled with
and
the
Emery
system.
was the right coach for them. You know, like I've seen quite a lot of people sort of say, "Oh, Arsenal got rid of Emery too soon," but like
I knew this was coming. Let's talk about Arsenal.
But it was a very different situation at Arsenal.
Yeah, it was.
And he's come in at perfect time for Villa. He's perfect in European competitions. Yeah. His pedigree is there, and he's doing really well in the Premier League. I really like Emery.
Yeah, I like this Villa team.
Yeah, so do I. So good luck.
Yeah. So let's talk briefly about VAR. I hate VAR pods, but then it also just massively impacts how we watch football, and the weekend of Premier League that we have is impacted by it. A couple of things. The first thing is kicking the ball away. We talk about it every week. It is ridiculous, and they need to not do it. I don't want players booked for kicking the ball away every single time they do it. If it is massively stopping a obvious counter-attack that will lead to a goal-scoring opportunity, fine, book him.
Yeah.
But every single free kick, if it gets kicked away, it doesn't need to happen.
Oh, man,
do we need any more on that?
I just don't disagree with any of that.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And then the other thing is...
But then, you know, I guess the argument to that is, well, how can you decide whether you got to go, hang on, is that a goal-scoring opportunity? Has that stopped? You know, because the one with Declan Rice...
wasn't.
No, but you could say he nudged it away. There's an argument that... Who was it? Van Heck or whoever it was who was going to... Veltman. There's an argument that he was going to kick the ball straight forward.
But there was no one there.
But there's an argument that he was going to get the ball and kick it into a goal-scoring opportunity for the attacking player. We know from watching it, he wasn't. He just wanted to boot Declan Rice.
And also, like, the Declan Rice one, he's hardly kicked the ball away as well. But anyway, the other one is... this new, like, weird, they don't want to intervene on stuff. Like, so few penalties this year given by VAR because they seem like they don't want to get involved. They always seem to want
to go from, like, one end of the spectrum to the other.
One season it'll be one thing. Next season they'll be like, oh, we got involved a bit much. We won't do any of it.
Yeah. And where it doesn't seem to happen in international tournaments.
No.
They seem to get it perfectly right. And the same in the Champions League.
And there's quite a lot of times we're sat here and we think, I would have given that, but they've decided not to overturn it, and it's fine. Like, it doesn't massively... it doesn't bother me, actually, as much as I thought it would.
In the Premier League?
This season,
right.
Them not overturning stuff is when there's a soft penalty, and that actually annoys me more if there's a soft penalty and they go and look at every angle and they overturn it. That annoys me more than if it's not given and they go, oh, it's close, I'm not going to give it.
I also think with the offsides, I think there should be a timer. I think it should be 20 seconds. If you can quickly work it out, if they're at Stockley Park and quickly work it out and go, yeah, fine. Otherwise, just go with umpire's call like they do in cricket. Like, VAR was not supposed to be brought in to see if someone's armpit was offside.
No.
Like, just have a quick look.
But then if it decides the game, then like,
well, yeah, but I'm sorry, but
if
don't have linesmen then. What's the point?
If Salah scores against you with an armpit offside and it's given,
yeah, I won't be bothered.
You would.
I wouldn't.
You would.
I wouldn't because I wouldn't.
And let's say you lost the title by 2 points.
I wouldn't.
You would. I'm not going to sit and let you say that.
I wouldn't.
Again, if it was us and we
because
finished...
that's not cheating. It's like the whole point of the offside is because they're creating an advantage by being ahead of the defence. But like, if his arm, how is that? That's what they're marking it. They're going, oh, his armpit was slightly in front, so he's offside. Ridiculous.
For people on podcasts, you should go and watch this on YouTube.
Just pointing at my armpit.
Yeah. But this is the issue with VAR. It creates heated debates where it just annoys us that it's not
back
perfect.
in the day, before VAR...
Back in my
Yeah, but I know. But back in the
day,
day before VAR, we used to just accept the decisions. No, we'd argue about the decisions, but they used to be mad when like you'd see like a player that's like 2 foot offside and it not been given. You're like, oh my god!
Yeah.
But like back in the day, if we'd seen someone's armpit offside, we go, oh, that's a bit annoying. Like, because look, his armpit's offside, but oh well. Like if that's what you're losing the game on, well, you know, you got to do a bit better.
Yeah. Fine, I agree. I think it's like. No one massively loves it being part of football at Premier League at the moment. I think most football fans would say they don't want it if you're.
And if there could be automated offsides, happy days.
I'm going to get it at some point, but I'm sure they'll push it back. And also, a small note, this Twitter account they've decided to bring in, where they try and explain the VAR, farcical. I think it's the only
Why did you ever think Twitter was going to be the place where you would get...
reasonable, level-headed opinion.
This will help us get balanced opinions. Like I would,
with no reply, so everyone then just quote tweets it with their opinion there.
And also the replies, I say half of them's probably going to be porn. Then it'd just be people being angry and bots, so here's a chill out mix.
Yeah.
Like
people plugging their podcast.
People plugging their podcast, but it just seems like all things like that are organised by 60-year-old blokes. Who have no idea of how to move the game of football on. Right,
enough self-centered talking about our own teams. Let's look at the other end of the table. So at the moment in the relegation zone, we have Wolves, Southampton and Crystal Palace. Want to talk a little bit about Crystal Palace as well in a moment when we get on to talk about the specific teams. Other ones I've got in there for sort of relegation are Southampton, Leicester, Ipswich, Wolves, Everton and Palace. So I haven't got Bournemouth in there. I haven't got West Ham. I haven't got Forest. I haven't put United in there even as some sort of joke. It is the current bottom 6 that I think are already looking like they are going to be the bottom 6. The only one I wondered about, and I decided based on some performances I've seen not to put them there, is Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I think Bournemouth may well finish in the places just above the relegation zone, but I don't think they will be in the bottom in the battle for it.
Okay. Yes, I can't disagree with any of those. I'm surprised West Ham is not in there because barring their last result, we were talking about...
Yeah, it's true.
Could Lopetegui be sacked?
Yeah.
So I would maybe squeeze West Ham in there at the moment, but with that team, you'd have to say they wouldn't.
I could put them in the debate, but I don't think...
They're in the
battle. I don't think they'll get relegated. No. And I don't think Bournemouth... No. Bournemouth may be there, but I don't think they will get relegated. If any of those 6 went down, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think the trouble is with... teams like Ipswich and Leicester and Southampton, all the teams that have come up, there's such a vast difference from the Championship to the Premier League.
Such a difference.
You basically are coming up, you look at Ipswich, they're coming up with players like Delap, he's come from Man City, but he never played for Man City. No. Like, your Greaves, and these players that aren't Premier League ready. And you're trying to stay in the Premier League. So what do? You spend loads of money, right? But then, yes, Nottingham Forest just about did it when they spent loads of money and managed to stay in the league. But, that could also be a risk if it goes wrong. So
and some
it's
clubs
so
then
difficult.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, well, you're a yo-yo club if they do go back down. But then some of the clubs who haven't done it and stayed up are actually the ones that are best off, like Wolves and Brentford.
So the teams that have
stayed up by not spending money are probably the ones that are generally best off if they manage to do it.
Because then you can combine the team that's had a year in the Premier League
with the Premier League money,
with some Premier League money and some more experienced players.
So like Brentford and Wolves are the two big examples. I know Wolves are now in the relegation fight, but they got promoted by basically not spending very much.
But was that not because they'd spent the money when they were in the Championship?
Well, maybe.
Because that's the difficult thing, is that you're trying. It's harder and harder to convince Premier League quality players to go and play in the Championship.
Yeah.
And then when you come up, you haven't got enough Premier League quality players.
Yeah. So out of the newly promoted teams, how do you feel on them so far? I do think Southampton look the worst. And I know we talk positively about Ipswich, but I worry about their defensive ability. I would be surprised if those two don't go back down.
And I would say those two and Wolves, if gun to my head.
Wolves in there now.
Yeah, I really do. Because the thing is with Palace is that I think Palace have really. I know we're going to focus on Palace, but I think Palace have really struggled with the fact they had so many players that went off to international duty and came back really late.
Yeah.
And now obviously they lost to Lise.
Yeah.
They lost to Anderson, who was was a mad sell. And Ezra's trying to do all of it on his own, and he's not able to.
Yeah.
And Ketia is a finisher, but already it's looking like they may have overspent there. But I do think that Palace, it will come together for them.
This is it, and it's like when we talk about West Ham, we talk about maybe Bournemouth as well. I just expect it to come good for West Ham at some point, and I can fully see West Ham going on a run where they win 3 or 4 games on a bounce, and I can see that with Palace, but Everton as well. Like, I think Everton have got it in them to be fine. I think Dyche, they'll be fine.
It's the defence, isn't it? It's if Brathwaite
defence.
You always say it when Brathwaite makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So it's like if Brathwaite can stay fit, Mikalenko can stay fit, then defensively they'll be solid. And they've got enough going forward. NDI has been a really good signing. Dominic Calvert-Lewin looks like he's starting to get back to not his best, but like a player that can score you enough goals to stay up. A player that you
can rely on, I would say. Yeah.
Because they're all looking for that player that can score them 10, 15 goals in a season. And he's
being helped by Ndiaye and McNeil.
And Dwight McNeil, yeah. So, I don't see Everton I think Everton will be fine. Leicester, I think with Cooper, has got a manager that will win at all costs, or will do anything to win.
Do you think? I think they'll go down if they keep Cooper.
Right.
So I watched a lot of Forest when they had Cooper.
Yeah.
They were great initially because there was that big camaraderie when they came up and he got them promoted. But as soon as that team got a decent enough manager under Nuno, you saw a whole lot of a better round of football.
Yeah.
And I still don't think he knows his best team. I don't think he's. I worried I worry. I don't think.
Have I made a blunder? As NDI with Leicester or with Everton?
Everton.
It is Everton, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
There is some talent in that Leicester team. I think it'll be Leicester or Wolves that go. And I actually think Wolves will stay up if they keep their manager, and Leicester will go down if they keep theirs. So
it'll be interesting. 3 promoted teams. Was last season? Was it all three?
All 3 promoted teams went down.
We can't be having this.
I know. So I wonder. Leicester is the one that I wonder if they can do it.
That's made me really want to root for any of the promoted teams to stay up. I don't want to see that every year that the promoted teams just can't handle it. Okay.
So we're going Leicester, Ipswich, and then you're going Wolves, and I'm going Leicester.
Yeah, fine.
I'm going all 3.
Southampton, Ipswich, and Wolves for me.
Right. The next thing is a new one.
Yeah.
The half-time rules.
Okay.
The new initiative that is being added to the Premier League. So let's just detail them. In the game.
Are these happening, by the way?
Apparently, yes. I'm pretty sure they've been confirmed, right?
God.
I have to have a half-time interview with a player, coach, or it can be an assistant manager. Interviews for players who are subbed off. It happened the other night in Bournemouth, Southampton.
Did it?
I think it was Sinistera got subbed off and he got interviewed on the touchline.
What, during the game?
Like 70 minutes. And dressing room broadcasts.
You love this, didn't you?
So they have
Gen Z.
Clubs have to choose one of the 3 options every week. So right. I'm sorry.
The game's gone to the dogs.
The game has gone.
What is this?
What is going on?
Like, do you know what? I've been watching, I was bored in the international break, watching Mr. McMahon. Right? Do you like wrestling?
Not really.
Okay, I don't really love wrestling, right? But the documentary called Mr. McMahon on Netflix.
He a weirdo?
Oh yeah, Oh, he's a very troublesome guy.
Okay.
But
I feel like me just saying, is he a weirdo, is not going to do justice.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, he's worse than a weirdo.
Okay.
But he's just like, Vince McMahon, like, at one point created his own football league, right? And it was called the XXL. And it was more like, it was like they wanted American football, but with like WWE.
Okay.
So it was like there were storylines, but the trouble is the American football was rubbish.
Yeah.
But this feels like what they're trying to sort of do is like, I know what we'll do is we'll get interviews at half time. That'll be rubbish, right? No one's going to say anything.
I'm sure I've seen it.
They used to. I've seen them.
I'm sure they used to do it with some.
But you would get players, you get managers. Harry Redknapp would do it.
Yeah.
He'd come out and say, "Oh yeah, love being in front of the camera. The players. I just spoke to the lads. We're gonna stick Cranky's going up front. He's gonna be fine. Like that. They're not gonna." You imagine? Do you think Arteta's going to come out and give you much of an interview
at 2-1 when you're 2-1 up against City with 10 men? He's going to come out at half time.
He's going to be dressed as Snape.
Yeah.
And talk about the dark arts.
The halftime interviews with players and coach, I don't like. If you want to interview a member of the backroom staff or a player who's not in the squad, then maybe. But I also don't understand the need for it because they're not going to add anything insightful.
But the thing is, Harry, right? I watched a lot of cricket, and in T20 cricket, when you'd have players like on mic, they'd be like, different. I know it is, but it's great.
Yeah, but it's like, let's mic up Van Dijk at centre-back halfway through the game.
I'd love that. I'm talking about it going, the game's gone, but can you imagine that?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Right, interviews for players who are subbed off.
No.
Don't like that, because if you drop a stinker, you don't want to have an interview.
I like it. I don't see it working. They are all so media trained. What are they going to say that's of any interest?
And dressing room broadcast, like if you see them putting tactics in at half time, like I don't like it at all. We don't need this. I don't think.
I'm all for documentaries. Like I've really enjoyed the All or Nothing series. We did talk about noise going out there. It's spooky season.
Yeah.
But I really like the documentaries. I don't want to see it during the live broadcast. I mean, I don't also want to see Jamie Redknapp giving his analysis, but more betting adverts, I think, is what we'll have.
Yeah. What I do like that they're doing a lot of, and they do it on Monday Night Football a lot, is managers of other clubs or managers who are not in a job at the moment. They give, like, it was Graham Potter the other day.
Or like Thomas Frank being on that, really interesting.
That is really, really interesting, and I like that a lot. And actually, when they interview managers after the game, sometimes on Sky, where they get them down to the table, I really like that.
Agreed.
Because they offer insight. The issue is at half time in games, managers are not and players are not going to want to give away anything.
I know.
So they're just going to talk about what's happened and be like, oh, okay, yeah, we missed that or we scored that. I don't think there's going to be enough that they're going to want to give away.
I'll be interested to see. Is it this season?
Yeah.
Why are these things happening during a season and not like before the season?
I hate all three of them. I don't like any of the ideas. The players being subbed off is just about acceptable.
I just don't think any of them are going to work in the way that they think they're going to work.
No.
That's my argument with it.
No.
But,
And a player who's just run around for 80 minutes isn't going to want to talk to a microphone.
Oh, but it's like, them putting their hands in front of their mouths and they're talking so nobody can hear what they're saying. Like, it's going to be more of that.
That's good for the podcast, that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's both of us just talk.
But no, you can still hear. But like, I think it's going to be more of that, more secrets, more finding ways of not giving out information.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Couple of teams to talk about. First of all, let's go back to Crystal Palace. So, of course, they didn't start the season nearly as well. They lost Anderson and they lost Elise. I think I just massively underestimated quite how important those two players were them. And the other one is Adam Wharton, I think, who's not looked fit. Yeah. Basically, playing without those three has impacted
And
them.
Mateta had been off in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Which is, and Eza had played, was it off with England until the final? Like, they're important players, and they haven't got cover at fullback. So like, they're playing with Mitchell and Munoz, and then Munoz has now got injured,
and they played Nathaniel Klein.
I mean, Nathaniel Klein's still playing.
Yeah.
And I quite like the signing Lacroix, is it? Lacroix, I think he looks great. So I can sort of understand that, with selling
the Anderson one, I was like, well, they sold Anderson and they signed Lacroix and they've got Chalobah, who's currently injured. That just doesn't seem like it should have weakened them.
I just think that they started with a lot of players that came back very late from international duty, and they haven't clicked into gear yet. But Glasner, even with his interviews, he seems a little bit bemused.
He seems a little bit confused,
which is worrying.
Down about it.
Which is sort of a bit like O'Neill.
It's not like some managers go, "Oh yeah, no, like we've had some bad results, but it's there. We're working on it." Like positive,
like Deitch.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't feel positive. It feels concerned. And like Mateta got benched the other day, which again is weird because he was probably in their top three. That front three, all three of them could have been their player of the season last year. I do think there's something in... We spent the whole time comparing Elise to Eze, right? And now Eze is at Palace, struggling to be that talisman on his own, whereas Elise is at Bayern Munich, killing it. Absolutely killing it, and killing it in the Champions League as well. That it does make me wonder if there was a gap in talent between the two. Like when we look at it from FPL, we always thought, oh, would you buy Elise? Would you buy Eze? Because their points were similar. And maybe that's the lens that I had on it. Yeah. But now I'm looking at them both play this year. I think Eze has not changed or not stepped up.
But Elise is playing with better players.
It's true. But even like some of the solo stuff he's doing, he looks full of confidence as well. Yeah. And when Eze looks full of confidence, he's great.
And there's chances that Eze's missed this season that millimeters, and he scored 3 goals this season, and we're saying he's still having a great season, and Palace have got 6 more points and all the rest of it. So that's why I don't see them being in a relegation battle in 5 games' time. I think Palace would have had a bit of an upturn.
The other one is Adam Wharton. Obviously isn't fully fit, and was at the start of the season, but then since the last break they haven't been. And Will Hughes, who my friend went to school with, it's just their midfield does lack with him. He is very good, and they need everyone fully fit if they're going to try and turn around. I do think it will come good, but I do think there's been a few things added together that has definitely slowed them down, and missed chances as well. I don't we forget that they have performed okay on the pitch in some games and just not finished it.
I do think it's weird though, in that like you said, like the signings that they've made, you'd have thought it hadn't weakened them. Where it's like when you look at Wolves, you think that the players that they lost and then the signings that they've brought in,
they're weaker.
Where you don't think that with Palace, but yet
maybe the Elise thing is a bigger thing than I originally thought it would be. I thought they would be okay enough without them. Maybe not quite 9th where they were at this point last year, but I thought they would be, maybe 13th, 14th.
This time last year, and then they had such the great ending.
18th. Wow. So maybe I thought they'd be maybe 12th, 13th, maybe not quite 9th, but I didn't think it would be quite this bad. Then one more. We spoke about a little bit on Manchester United when we spoke about the top 4 race. We're not putting them in the top 4 race. We're putting them just about in a European race as well. Well, European race. How do you feel about them at the moment? We've spoken that we think Ten Hag needs to go if they really want to get.
I just think they're at a point now where it's like, well, what are you doing then?
But like, it didn't work under Ole. It didn't work under whoever that other guy was.
Van Gaal before that.
Van Gaal.
Moyes, Van Gaal, Ole, Rangnick.
Rangnick, that's the one. But like, at what point is it not the manager?
Yeah, but the thing is, with a lot of people will refer things back to Arsenal because you look at the way that we have changed since Wenger going into Emery, and then the whole club structure had to change. And Man United needs to do that, root and branch. But when you're still starting Maguire and Evans, that takes me back to Mustafi and Socrates. Not that they're as bad as Mustafi and Socrates, but there's got to be wholesale change. And I don't think Ten Hag is the person to do that.
But if they sack Ten Hag now and get someone new, do you think it improves between now and the end of the season? Outside of a new manager bounce or something like that?
Not unless they get the entire structure around him.
Really do that mid-season,
no,
can you?
But then that's what I know, and that's why they got Rangnick in, because they were going to do that at the end of the season. But it's got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and then I don't like. Where do you think Man United are going to finish? 10th?
Yeah.
Man United. It's Manchester United. But like, but the trouble is, that phrase is so popular because it is. It's like, this is Manchester United, and we're just going, another season when they might finish 10th.
Yeah.
They're other than Real Madrid, they're the biggest club in the world.
Well, this is the thing. I think, but then it's like, well, you sack him, but if the new manager isn't going to get it right away until the end of the season, then you're like, well, you're signing a new manager to basically have a rubbish 6 months, and then he won't be happy. The fans won't like him. The players won't like him. Yeah. So then it's like, well, do you stick with Ten Hag? And you're like, well, then you're just accepting your fate. It feels like a lose-lose thing because there's no one good enough out there.
They should have done it. They should have said, well done in your FA Cup.
There's one manager out there who I think is good enough for the job, and I don't think he's going to get it because he's being linked with the England job, and that is
Potter.
Thomas Tuchel.
Thomas Tuchel, yeah.
And I will forever his time at Chelsea. He's one of the best managers I've ever seen at Stamford Bridge. And very unfortunate that he fell out, but hopefully we are slowly turning that corner.
But with Man United, though, you know, it happened with Emery at Arsenal. Like, it gets to a point where it's like, you just have to sack them because the football's so bad. The losses are so bad.
Yeah.
It's not like when you had Lampard at Chelsea and it was just loss after loss after loss. Yeah. You knew he was going at the end of the season. Where I think, like, with Ten Hag,
it's too early on to just prolong it for the rest of the season. But then, going back to that point, it's like, well, if you sack him, who are you getting?
It'll be Ruud van Nistelrooy
for the rest of the season, and they get someone in the summer.
Yeah,
like that is just.
I know it's another cycle, but what else do you do?
So we think it is partly managerial, but it's got to be some of it's the players, right? If it hasn't worked under any of these managers,
it's the entire structure of the sporting directors. It's everything.
If you put,
and I know they set that there with Ten Hag, but it clearly isn't working. The signings aren't working.
If you put that group of players in Arsenal, where do you think they finish?
I think 5th.
Okay. So what I'm trying to work out is what this group of players for Man United is able to get to. Like, where is their ambition? And it is probably a top 4 race.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's enough in there. I do think, like, Rashford is the one that people look at a lot. Bruno Fernandes hasn't had his best season. Of course, 2 red cards in the space of a week. It's not great from him. Rashford is the one that people look at. He went through a few games where he was scoring. People thought he was back. Then it's not been quite the same. It hasn't been the same for a while. I struggle to know what to do with Rashford because he is so the Manchester United guy, and I could never see him going anywhere else. Like, I can never see him in another football show. I think. Really?
Yeah. No, I think we will
in England.
Yeah.
Really?
I think he'd fit very well at an Arsenal. 100%.
Think he's good enough for an Arsenal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you get a Rashford the form that he could be on the left wing. I'd have a prime Rashford over Martinelli.
You're very convinced it's a system problem at United.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
As a system, is a whole club.
But then the issue they've got with that is trying to fix that.
Yes, which they should have tried to do in the summer.
You can't, and that's the issue. They kept Ten Hag because he won a cup, and now they've gone into a new season, and they can't change any of that basically until they get to the end of the season. So they are just in this circle. I
look at that time when Arteta got rid of Aubameyang. And as a fan, you can't get rid of Aubameyang. He's our captain. He's got so many goals for us, and he's like that big money signing, and we love him. He's jokes. He wears as a mask sometimes. It's fantastic. We love that guy. Yeah. And Arteta went, no, I'm getting rid of him. I'm not. And even before I can sell him, he's going to play in the reserves because he's late for training. He's, what he's posting on his social media. And Edu backed him, and the team above them backed him. And it's like, until you've got that kind of trust, it's not going to change.
It doesn't sound great for them for this season.
We've got lots to talk about, Harry. Come on, man.
We are 57 minutes in. Just before we move on to the season awards, we don't have too much because this will be quick.
Okay.
If you haven't liked already, or
this is the bit I've done prep on.
Liked and subscribed, please do. 5-star review if you are on podcast as well. That would be fantastic.
Yes.
I hope you're enjoying. From next week, we'll be back with usual episodes.
Yes. You always try and on your FPL stuff. You always say, we're going for 2,000.
Yeah, 200 likes.
200 likes.
200
That's
likes.
the target.
That's the target.
What are we hitting at the moment?
I think we've got 150 on the last one.
Okay, nice, good. 200 likes. Come on.
Normally the thing you say at the beginning.
Right, cut this. Put it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Say 200 likes. Come on, guys, you can do this.
Season awards so far. So we've got a few questions and. We'll read each one out. We'll have a bit of discussion. Let us know what you think as well.
Yes.
First one, goal of the season so far.
Yes.
You go first. I think you can only talk about one. I've got 3.
Okay. Well, mine's Duran because I'm determined for this to win goal of the season. Just so I can. When I said I think it's one of the best goals I've ever seen, a lot of people have said to me, "You're talking about it's a fluke." I love this goal. It's a thunder rocket right into the top left-hand corner.
It's a thunder what?
A thunder rocket. I love it. I love everything about it. This is, look, listen, I love team goals. I love goals with wonderful bits of skill, but there's nothing like hammering a ball into the top corner and it bending away from the keeper or coming right or bending in at the last minute. It goes in clean. It doesn't hit the post. I love it. Duran's goal is the best goal.
Okay. I think I agree. I've got a couple of
Oh,
others.
yay.
I've got a couple of others in my top 3, which we were meant to do, but you didn't.
One is Cole Palmer.
Yeah, one is Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
His free kick.
I do love that free kick.
Free kick is incredible.
Yeah.
The other one is James Justin.
Yeah, that's a wonder. That is a wonderful goal.
Volley is incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good as Duran's, but it is an incredible goal. Those are my top 3 so far this season.
I love the Justin goal because he had himself in his FPL team.
Yeah, and benched himself.
And he had two Arsenal
he saw it go in and
defenders.
he was like,
I was like, we mentioned this before, but like, I'd love to know. Like, that's when he should be mic'd up.
Yeah.
Quickly ask him.
How was that?
I'll be up for that.
Yeah.
Mic them and ask them about FPL.
Ask them after they've scored goals about their FPL
Yes,
team. Fine.
that's a rule I would like.
Next up, so we're giving it to Duran.
Yay.
Next up is best match of the season so far to watch.
So I would say I've got 2. It would be in fact, I've got 3.
Okay. 3's good.
2 of them from last week.
Okay.
West Ham Brentford.
Okay.
That was the 5. No, Wolves.
Wolves Brentford 5-3.
Wolves Brentford, Palace and Brighton Tottenham.
Yeah.
And Arsenal Man City.
Yeah.
And I know some people said the second half was boring, and it's very difficult when you support one team because you never find any of the games particularly boring. But I'd say that there was a lot to it. Yeah.
I was where I'd put it. I wouldn't say it was exciting, but I would say it was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got Brighton Spurs 3-2. I've got Arsenal Man City.
Right.
And then I've got Chelsea 6, Wolves 2.
Okay.
Because that was just chaos. Like that's just goals. It's not
and that
necessarily
Madueke performance is just unbelievable.
I think Brighton Spurs is the best game of the season so far.
I feel bad though because I like it because it's hilarious.
I've never seen a game of 2 halves like it.
I know, but I just there's part of me that's so disappointed because I so wanted to be right about Spurs being good this year, and you see that and it is the history of the Tottenham. They can't argue with it.
Signing of the season so far. I'll go first. So I've got 4 names here. I've got Calafiori. I don't necessarily think he's been the best out of them in terms of impact yet, but I think he will.
He's only started 2 games.
I think he will be the best signing of all the new players this season.
Yeah.
Smith Rowe to Fulham.
Yeah.
I think he's had a massive impact there and massively helped their very, very good start to the season. They are, where's my little graph? They are 8th with 11 points and they were 13th last year.
If Traore could finish,
they'd be
even
higher.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've then got Onana at Villa. I think he's massively helped their midfield.
Okay.
Came from Everton to Villa, and the final one is Delap. So he is a new signing. It's weird to put a new signing in a newly promoted team because to us, that's just what Ipswich are like. Delap is an Ipswich player,
fine.
But he's the last one. I think, again, they wouldn't be even on like 4 points without him.
Okay, so I've got a few. I've got Milenkovic at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
He's only 12 million from Fiorentina. He's only Liverpool have conceded fewer goals than Forest. With 6. So I really like Milenkovic. I think Buonanotte has been a good sign-in for.
Is that just what because he scored at the weekend?
No, because I think that if you look at his numbers and the duels that he's winning.
Yeah.
That sounded like I knew what I was talking about. No, I think he has been good for them. And Diaye, we've already talked about at Everton.
I like that.
I think Savinho, he's only 20 years old. I think he's looked mainly as well because he's number 26 as well, and he just looks like Mahrez in the way that he plays.
I had Savinho, and then I had to cut my list down.
And then the last one is Dar O'Shea,
okay.
Who again, like his as much as Ipswich have conceded quite a few goals, his numbers do match up to some of the best defenders in the league. Yeah. So I think he's been a very good signing for Ipswich.
If you had to pick one,
I'm gonna say Milenkovic. I probably would have put Calafiori in there because I love him, but I think Milenkovic at Forest. He was the first one to put out, and then I realised I had to write some more.
I'm going to put Smith Rowe.
Okay.
Smith Rowe or Delap would probably be top.
All right.
I quite like Onana as well. This year's breakout star.
See, now this is what I've put Delap.
So I've put Delap in here as well.
Okay. Yeah. For me, he's showing the quality that could give Ipswich the chance to stay up. We talked earlier about Calvert-Lewin. So I really like Delap. And there's something so special about a Barclaysman's son playing in the Premier League. So, Delap's mine.
I've got a couple of others. Morgan Rogers, I feel like has to be in
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was there sort of last year, but this is his real season where he is absolutely like breaking out and being a top player. And the other one is, again, Noni Madueke. I feel like he's stepping up to be, again, maybe not breakout because he was there last year.
And maybe I don't feel like he's had that many good performances.
Oh, that's harsh.
Okay.
I would put him third. I'd put Rogers first, then Delap, then.
See, I would have had breakout star Gravenbach, but he's going to be in my.
So then I have most improved. This is because I wanted certain categories to fit certain
Oh,
players.
fine, okay.
So then the next one is most improved.
Yeah.
Gravenbach is the first name that I put here.
Yeah, that's what I put down. Yeah.
The other two I've got are Dwight McNeil.
Yeah.
Think massively improved. His goal contributions are massively up, and I think Everton are needing his performances this year. And then the other one is Brennan Johnson.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of recency bias, but I think he was good for Spurs last year, but I feel like this is the season where we're looking at that as one of their main goal threats.
Is this breakout improved?
Most improved.
Yeah, I like that.
So Gravenbach, McNeil and Brennan Johnson are my top three. And the final one is manager of the season so far.
I was going to say signing of the season is Jurrien Timber. I know he's already been there a year, but he played one game and he has been immense.
Yeah.
So I'd chuck Timber in there as well. Manager of the season so far, I've got three names.
Yes.
Nuno Espirito Santo.
Yeah.
Arne Slot.
Yeah.
And Marco Silva.
So I have the same, apart from I don't have Arne Slot.
Oh.
I've got Maresca.
Wonder why.
Well, he won manager of the month this month, so he's got to be up there.
Okay, yeah.
I think Nuno for Forest and Marco Silva sort of have to be in it for what Fulham and Forest have done so far this season. Again, we were putting them not in relegation fights, but Forest were. We were going into the season probably thinking Forest might be in another relegation fight, and Fulham could have been down there, so they have to be in it for what they've done. And then it is which of the top, like it could be Arteta. I mean, it could be like, I feel like Pep wins manager this season every year because they win the league, right? Yeah. I wouldn't give it to him. Could be Arne Slot. I think Maresca has started really well. Both of them are new to the league as well.
Yeah.
So for both of them to be putting out performances for their teams like they are at the moment, it's got to be one of those two, I think.
Yeah. I think, when I was thinking about it, I thought Maresca could be in there, especially because you had after their pre-season, no one would have predicted Chelsea to have had the start that they've had, and new to being a Premier League manager.
Yeah.
So, I'll give you that.
Those are our rewards for the season. We might do this most international breaks, see how things are changing. See how things are changing. We'd have another international break in less than a month. How exciting is that?
Oh, God.
Stop
it.
Love it. Before we wrap up, we didn't do our predictions last week. So as a reminder, there is a prize at the end of the season. If you come top in any given week of our predictions league, you'll be entered into a draw for a prize. So make sure you go and join that. The app is called Super Brew Football. It is on the App Store, Google Play. It is a purple app with a little football, not the orange Super Brew one. There are two. The Super Brew Football is much more easy to use. There's a video on screen of how to join. The league code is SOLOFOGS, all one word, SOLOFOGS. Join that. You just predict the 10 games. The closer you are, the more points you get. Exact result, you get lots of points.
We play it as well.
We play it as well.
You get to beat us.
And every week we'll go through who did the best. You'll get a shout out if you won or in the top 3. And if you're top, you get a little prize. So predictions for game week 8, 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. What a way to mark the return after an international break. Spurs, West Ham.
Hang on, let me just move so I can't see yours. I'm going to move that there. So Spurs v West Ham. I think that will be a 3-1 victory to Tottenham.
I've gone 3-2. I think West Ham showed a bit of grit in last week.
Okay.
3-2. Fulham, Aston Villa.
Aston Villa. Oh, that'll be a fun game. I'm going to say...
I've gone 2-1 Villa.
2-2 for me.
Ooh.
2-1 Villa, you think?
Yeah, I think
I'm going 2-2.
Ipswich, Everton.
Okay, I'll go first on this one. I think that'll be 1-1.
I've gone 1-1 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Man United, Brentford.
I did wonder about giving Everton the win there.
Really? Maybe.
Man United, Brentford. I can't believe I predicted what I predicted. I predicted United win. What am I thinking? I predicted a 2-1 Man United win.
I mean, I'm guessing Brentford score in the first 2 minutes.
Brentford score in the first 1 minute and 17 seconds. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I
can't believe I predicted
Is Wissa going to be
win.
fit for this? Do we know?
We don't know yet.
Okay. I reckon this will be... Oh, my God. I think I'll go... What did you say, 2-1? I think I'll go 2-1 as well.
We're going to be wrong, though.
Of course we will.
That's going to not be a United win.
I think this will be oh, no, I think Brentford are going to win 2-1.
Oh.
Yes, sorry.
I've gone United 2-1.
No, I think Brentford are going to win 2-1.
I don't know why. Newcastle, Brighton.
Yes, I think this will be, depending on if Isak's fit, 2-1 to Newcastle.
I've gone 2-1 away win. Brighton. Going away to Newcastle is not easy, but I'm not being impressed by Newcastle.
But the thing is, because they had that good performance against Man City, my brain keeps thinking, surely Newcastle are going to be all right. Not all right, but as in are going to get back to the form we've seen over the last couple of seasons. Yeah. But other than that Man City game, they haven't been great.
Southampton, Leicester. I predicted a 2-0 away win to Leicester.
Really?
I'm just not impressed by Southampton either.
You hate Russell Martin.
Yeah.
I will go
They'll
again.
have more possession, though. That would be great for them. They
2-1. 2-1 Southampton.
Whoa.
Come on.
There's no way.
It's happening.
No way.
2-1. Tyler
No way
Dibbling.
Southampton are winning that game.
Come on the
Bournemouth,
Dibbles.
Arsenal.
I think Arsenal will win this 3-0.
3-1. You'll find a way to wipe my FPL clean sheet at some point. Sure, they will.
I go 3-1. I think Arsenal are pretty annoyed about the goals they've been conceding, and I don't think they're going to concede a goal.
Wolves, Man City.
Man City 4-1.
3-1. I've gone. Liverpool, Chelsea. We're on to Super Sunday here.
Nice. What are you thinking?
3-2 Liverpool.
Fun. That is a Super Sunday. I think it'll be...
It's a shame. It pains me to predict a Liverpool win, but I've gone 3-2 Liverpool.
I think 3-1 Liverpool.
Outrageous.
Sorry, man.
Monday night football. Under the lights.
Lovely.
Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace. We've got Monday night football, and then we've got Friday night football.
Oh,
what a week.
And on Forest in both.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's why you own Chris Wood in FPL.
Yeah. Well, no, but he's away to Tahiti, and he won't fly back.
It takes 5 days.
It takes 5 years to fly back from Tahiti.
We actually played this morning.
I go with 1-0 Forest.
I got 1-1.
Okay.
Palace still to be without a win. We're going to get...
And Ipswich without a win.
And I've got Southampton without a win as well.
Okay.
Southampton, Leicester, one of them are going to have to... Oh, no, Leicester got their win.
Yeah.
They got their win. Anyway, those are predictions. A bit of a slightly different pod. Season review. We'll be back next week reviewing little bits of normal football.
Back in the game. Listen, send us your comments. Like the podcast. Follow the podcast. You can tweet us. You can find us on @KnowTheScore, @KnowTheScorePod, underscore. Is that what it is?
_pod, yeah.
@KnowTheScore, you'll find it. You search that. You know FPL Harry. I'm @Luke Kempner. You can find us on all those things. 200 likes is what we're looking for on the YouTube. And give us any of your thoughts on any of the subjects we talked about today.
Thanks. We've got 23 5-star reviews on podcasts as well. Yeah.
Hooray.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Bye.